All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Episode 5. Tony and I are
5.
back. How you doing, Tony?
I am well. We're actually going through another heat wave here in the UK, but it's all good because I got my fan on and I'm about to spend the most fun hour I spend every week, and that's talking about RetroMania and the development. And I have been dying to catch up because we're at the start now.
Yep.
After last week's episode, I was like, right, this is where it begins. So, yeah, can you just give us a quick recap on
where
we left things off?
So, we went through the highs and lows and the WrestleFest debacle that was the iPad game. It's funny, speaking of that, I just watched, I don't know if you're familiar with Kim Justice's channel.
Yes, yeah.
She does a lot of great wrestling related content. And I was watching like the history of wrestling arcade games that was put out recently. And she mentions WrestleFest, obviously, which is her number one on the list, actually. Then goes through the, I think, I might be getting that. I think that was her number one. But anyway, then goes through the iPad abomination. I thought, when she went through it, I thought she was going to go to mine, and eventually she did. I got a shout out there.
Cool, very cool, very cool
on that video. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
but
cool.
So we went through getting started in Game Maker. Right, I ended up picking Game Maker over Unity. I have some artists now doing some of our own artwork because I didn't want to keep using the stuff we ripped out of WrestleFest for placeholder stuff. So now I got an artist working, and we got our body types. We're going with 4 body types on our artwork. Now it's like, all right, what are we going to make? Who are going to be the characters in this game? And that's kind of where we left off last week.
Yeah.
And again, I know nothing. And it's interesting. One video I actually watched this past week because I eat up as much like retro gaming and really game development content. So there's a lot of developers out there that have podcasts and things, and it's funny. I came across a game that I own called Legend Bowl. It's a American football game. It's like 2D pixel art. I met the developer years ago because he's also made it in Game Maker. So it's a pretty cool game. But he put a video out about a year ago documenting his kind of development process. Now, he did one video for an hour. So he didn't go into a terrible amount of detail. And he didn't have as many moving pieces. I mean, because I mean, hats off to him. He did it pretty much himself, the whole thing. Like, he coded the game himself. He did he outsourced some artwork. I think he ended up getting a publisher to handle the ports to Nintendo. We'll go through all that here with RetroMania, but he did it. He put a great video out, and one thing that I found really funny, there's a bunch of game dev videos out there, and he referred to a lot of the people that do those as game dev Jesus type of podcasts, where some of these guys that do them just like act like they know everything. Maybe they have a smash hit game, and that's why maybe they've never done a game. Maybe they haven't released a successful commercial game, but they have a big YouTube following. So I'm not sure who he was referring to because I watched a whole bunch of small and little game dev, but it made me think about what we're doing here. And this is strictly just, hey, if there's any information in my journey that I can share with people that they glean a little bit of insight out that helps them with them. I just want to be clear. I am no game dev Jesus, and I am learning on the fly here. But I found that phrase he used pretty funny. So I just wanted to mention it on here before we get started.
That is, it is kind of, again, a complete layman. I have no clue how to make a game. I've been playing games since I'm like 8 or 9 years old, properly. I hadn't played games before that. I still have no clue. I didn't even know what Game Maker was until you had started talking about it. And like, I created a little platformer. I could do things. And I'm like, oh, right, cool, yeah. No point have I thought I should make a game. It still sounds like madness to me. So the fact that you did it.
Well, it's funny because I think he leads off by saying you have to be a little crazy to go into game development. That was his, at least that was his premise of his video.
Right.
So I think, you know, it put things into perspective. And his is pretty interesting where he goes through, if you search, like just search Legend Bowl, but if you search how Legend Bowl was made, he did a follow-up College Bowl, but he goes into like the finances, how much money he made. And it's funny at the end of the day, you know, spoiler alert, but he made more at his full-time job that he quit before what he made. And Legend Bowl was pretty successful. I think he sold, sold between Legend Bowl and his College Bowl, he sold like 70,000 copies of the game. So that's pretty successful. Especially when 99% of game devs don't even finish their first game. So it's an interesting, if you're following what we're doing here, it's a one video. I definitely recommend searching for Legend Bowl and the development journey of that. But yeah, so that's
interesting.
So we're at now, like, what am I gonna make? So obviously wrestling, I'm gonna get some wrestling license. Well, I don't know anything about licensing, like, let alone so now I didn't know anything about game development. Now I'm starting to learn a little bit, you know. I didn't know anything about licensing now. So I'm coding this prototype in Game Maker. I got him walking to the ring. I'm now looking for a couple things are going on now at this point. One, I got to figure out what the wrestlers are going to look like. So we'll start with that part of it. So you have a couple options, right? So you have, I always point because it's always staring me in the face, Wrestle War in the background there, right? So those were fictional wrestlers that had strong likenesses to actual real life wrestlers. Right?
Strong likenesses is a good term, yes.
So again, we're 2018 now. So, you know, I don't know if that's going to fly, especially in the US. Most of those ones that did that, the kind of, hey, we'll use the likeness and we'll call them Bulk Boulder and instead of Hulk Hogan and, you know, Drew the Giant or something. I don't know. So
right.
So there's this whole legal ramification that I'm worried about. Like, I don't want to, and especially I'm very conscious of that due to, you know, episode, what was it, 2, where we talked about the cease and desist that I got on the fan project I was doing. So I'm pretty sure I don't want to do parodies, and it wouldn't really be a parody because parody would have been okay, but you know, I didn't want to do just like change it a little here, change it a little there. So that was the first thing I went, but you know, all the great ones started that way. It seems, you know, the initial game, the Big Pro Wrestling, the tag team wrestling that we got in the US, you know, had likenesses of wrestlers. I think it was like one of the Machines and Antonio Nokia, or even might have been Ricky Chojo or something like that. But they all had likenesses. So I'm like, well, I don't want to go that route. So I thought, it would be great to get real wrestlers, but and at the time I thought, well, there's no way I could do that. There's just no way. So but the next idea I had, so one of the things I love, and you've probably watched some, like we mentioned Kim Justice, but there's a bunch in US-based ones as well. YouTubers that do retro video games, wrestling games, all kinds of content. A lot of it's about collecting games, hunting for video games. That's a lot of the stuff that I watched. Or it's just like reviews of kind of like current retro stuff, that because now, even though like indie retro is kind of a thing now. You know, I think Megacat Studios, which is based out near me in Pittsburgh, they have a thing. I think it's at MagFest, which is a pretty big convention around the January time frame. But they have the whole indie showcase there, where I think it's called Indie Retro, and they bring independent developers who work on retro style games. You know,
okay.
So it's pretty cool, and I want to go this year. I've never been. I've just read about it, but like Retro World Expo, which is coming up next month in September in Connecticut in the U.S., which I do go to. I went last year, loved it, going back this year. You know, we have a RetroMania booth there, but there's a lot of people making games, new games on old systems, the homebrew community.
Yeah.
So there's a whole kind of culture out there on YouTube, podcasts, and everything else of these, influencers, quote unquote influencers, creators, whatever you want to be called, who have channels, pretty big channels of just like reviewing and doing this kind of thing. Right. So one of the ones I'd watched for years was called The Game Chasers. So
yes.
Now, unfortunately, one of them passed away last year around this time, Billy. But I reached out. I think they were probably the first. I think I reached out to Jay from the Game Chasers because they did some episode. Like I watched every episode of them. It's like a little bit of toilet humor, maybe right up my alley.
Oh,
like I'm not above it at all. Like they are like guys I would hang out with and have fun. The
same here. Yeah, I think we're all around the similar age.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing of like we grew up watching 80s action movie comedies and playing video games, and now we're just big kids.
Right. Absolutely. And I got all the references that they make, and just side comments, movie quotes, things of that nature. So I'm starting to think about one of their episodes. They talk about wrestling. They played the classics. They're a little younger than me, so theirs were No Mercy, right? So it's the N64 games, which is kind of relevant right now because Mod Retro just came out. I don't know if you followed the new N64 and the analog 3D just came out last year. So there's a big resurgence in N64. So and there's a bunch of really cool N64 ROM hacks of No Mercy. There's like a primetime wrestling, Saturday night's main event. I think there's an ECW one, but a lot of cool stuff. But these guys love those games. So I was like, So now my mind's starting to think. And then there's another guy called John Riggs. He does a lot of game reviews. He goes to a lot of conventions. He does a lot of pickups. Channel, and all these guys have like channels of about 100,000 or so, like 80, 100. They're not huge by any means, but my marketing mind was working as well. Not only was I a fan of these guys, I love their content. It was entertaining, but they had a following. Nothing huge that to me wasn't unapproachable. Right, they're around that, but like I think I have like 8,000 followers to kind of put it in perspective on our RetroMania YouTube channel. They're all sitting at that 100,000, give or take, area. Some a little bigger than others. I'm like, let me reach out to Jay. John Riggs actually works in wrestling. I've got to know him a little bit through the years. He actually is an announcer out on the West Coast. I think he's out of Portland. He does a ring announcing out there, or maybe even commentary.
Yes.
No. You know him because you
with John.
Right. I forgot you guys had him on AJ's show.
We had him on AJ's show, and he's actually there is the London gaming convention in 2 weeks down in London, and I'm actually spending the weekend with John filming content and stuff. So
that's awesome. Well, tell him I said hi because I will
do.
I just saw him at Too Many Games. Like this is a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Like awesome. Now it's already August, so this is like a month ago. Yeah. But yeah, I talked to him I talked to Zeroff for about 20 minutes.
John's the best.
I was over there.
He's the best. Yeah. I would make a great video game character as well.
Right. Well, spoiler alert, he is in RetroMania as in the audience. We'll get to there. But so at the time, I'm thinking, all right, John Riggs likes wrestling, There's another guy who was on the Game Chasers called 8-Bit Eric, who he's a YouTuber. And he's a former pro wrestler. I think one of his bigger matches was against Abyss.
Okay.
Then there's another guy named Pixel Dan. He's a pro. He's a pro wrestler. He did some indie stuff. I don't think he does it anymore, and he's big on He-Man, G.I. Joe, and he did and not all these guys, but some like Pixel Dan, the Game Chasers. They did a show called The Video Game Years. Which is a documentary series after what was the one called? The 80s one. Like this is the 80s, or MTV did a whole thing of it. Like,
yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but I've
Okay.
seen the video game years. I think it's like an Amazon Prime.
It's on
video
Amazon
over
now too.
here. Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember watching it, and it's so long. I love long documentaries that go into so much depth and detail. All of those guys on there, though. Yeah, Pixel Dan, Angry Video Game Nerd, like
Yep.
all of those guys. I get it. Yeah.
So like that's the genre I'm in. And that's what I watch. Like that's just what I like. So I was like, and a lot of these guys have dropped wrestling hints that they like wrestling or they're into it. So I reach out to Jay first, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm game." Like you mean like it's like, yeah, put me in. I don't need. And it's like I don't need any money. Like just put me in.
That's so cool.
So I was like, all right. Then I reach out to Riggs. Yeah, I'm interested. So then I'm like, all right, how do I build a roster out of this? Right. So I have the Game Chasers technique. All right, well, I just immediately well, what else do I listen to? There's another one. Pat Contry and Ian Ferguson do something called the CU Podcast, which I listened to for years. They don't do it weekly anymore, and I'll catch it now and again. But I reached out to them. Oh, they were interested. Who else did I go? John Gamester 81. I think he runs a convention out of Arizona. Southeast Retro. I forget the name of it. Oh, no, it's not Southeast. It would be Southwest probably. But it's out of Arizona. Anyway, reach out to him. And he actually made a game called Sydney Hunter, which is a indie retro game. It's an 8-bit style game. He released it on the Evercade as well, the Evercade handheld. So there's a Sydney Hunter cartridge on the Evercade. So I reached out to John. John was really helpful because I don't know if he would remember this, but I asked for a call with him because he had published Sydney Hunter at the time. I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? So he was gracious enough to talk to me for a half hour about doing this. And again, it goes back to like why I'm doing this podcast and everything else. Just everyone I reached out to in the game development community was willing to give me a half hour of their time. And like as you get older, you don't have as much spare time. To do everything you want to do. So John talked to me. He's like, yeah, I'd be in. So I'm like, all right. So I'm getting guys here, and I'm like, let me get some artwork done. So now I got to find a pixel artist,
right?
To do some like I have somebody working on the kind of the bodies at this point. So we figured out our 4 bodies. I found somebody on the equivalent of Upwork or one of these sites to help me work on the 4 bodies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we talked about that.
Yeah.
But now I need to create just some one-off things as a proof of concept to show these YouTubers what they would look like in the game and to really make sure they're on board with this.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had this guy back and I forgot to mention this when we talked about, like I was doing research for the show each week. I'm uncovering some stuff that was blocked out of my memory. So back when we were going to do the WrestleFest kind of revival concept and just do a fan game, I had commissioned an artist to add additional characters to WrestleFest. So one of the first things I wanted was, if you remember in WrestleFest, and we have something similar now in RetroMania with a recent update, but the character portraits would like fly out at your face one at a time.
Yes.
So it'd be like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Road Warrior Animal, Road Warrior Hawk would all come out to the screen. So one of the first things I did, I got to find this. I couldn't find it last week. I think it might be on YouTube somewhere. With like the perfect. It wasn't on the same channel that I put the perfect sprite sheet on, and I think I probably ripped this down after I got the cease and desist. So, but I redid the WrestleFest intro, and I added 4 new wrestlers.
Oh.
And we didn't have sprites or anything, but what I did get commissioned was each of those wrestlers was a digitized face of the actual wrestler.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, all right, I need 4 digitized faces because if the game was 12, So I wanted to add, and it was like 4, 4, and 4. So I was going to add, I guess it was 6 I would have added. Did I add 6 wrestlers? I think I added 6. So now I got to remember who they were now. So first was the Honky Tonk Man.
Okay.
Because he was in Wrestling Superstars and wasn't in WrestleFest.
Which upset me greatly.
Yeah. So I have a digitized face of him somewhere in the WrestleFest style. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Then I had Macho Man, which eventually, I get for RetroMania. We'll talk about that story later episode. But Macho Man Randy Savage was a third. The fourth one is escaping me right now. I have a tag team, which was the Hart Foundation.
Oh, sweet.
So awesome. I had Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Oh, it was Tito Santana was the other one.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So those were the 6 that I had this digital art created for. And so the artist I got to do that, I reached back out to. That was 2012. So I didn't talk to him. Now we're in 2010. So this is 6 years later. I said, hey, could you have time to do a couple of sprites for me? Because he does sprite artwork. So his name was Mike Parent. The name just came. So Mike Parent has since released Retro Siege and Damon Claw, which is two retro styled Sega Genesis. I think they're going on the Neo Geo as well. Their Bitbeam Cannon is the name of their company. So
okay.
So they have some really cool games that they're working on. And then so he introduced me to Corey. Corey ends up doing a lot of work for me, but at the time I talked to Corey and I said, hey, this is what I need. We want kind of a WrestleFest style sprite, but I need them to look like these YouTubers. So he's like, oh, sure, I can do that. So this is very key because this is the first time I meet Corey, who I still work with to this day.
Oh, okay, cool.
He didn't design. I probably wish he would have designed the original sprites for WrestleFest because he didn't do the character sprites because that was already underway at this point.
Right.
But he ends up doing all the environments in RetroMania, which are just amazing. Like I love the way they look. They're
so cool. The Stomp in Paradise is my favorite one. Yeah. Just the attention to detail. You obviously have to be a fan of the Major Figure Wrestling podcast.
Right.
But if you know, there's so much in that one ring, and I'm like, this is love it. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll go through all those when we get to that point of the podcast. But so I meet Corey, who's a freelance artist working on a lot of his own stuff. And I said, hey, I need a handful of sprites. And I think that I did like 9 or 12 I needed. So I have the Game Chasers. So I have a tag team, right? So I'm thinking, how can I integrate these guys into my wrestling game, right? So I have the Game Chasers. I have Gamester 81. I have the CU podcast guys, Pat and Ian. So now I got to branch out and see who else I can get. So one of my other favorites is, and I have John Riggs. One of my other favorites, Metal Jesus Rocks. So John's kind of part of that Metal Jesus Rocks crew. So I reach out to him. And so now it's like, how do I get a hold of these guys? So most YouTube channels will have an about, I forget what it's called, or more info.
Right.
And sometimes people, depending on how big they are, you'll get an email address right from there. Now, they don't always answer that email address. Or their Metal Jesus was a little bit bigger. So his wasn't there. I ended up going through Facebook to try to get a hold of him.
Okay, yeah.
The Happy Console Gamer is another one. So I got him. Who else am I thinking of? There's a lot more that eventually end up in the game in some areas, but I think those were the core ones I started with. So now I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a YouTube wrestling game, right? So my pitch is going to be to these guys. You guys all have followers. You're going to be in the game. And I wasn't thinking because Jay kind of is like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like Jay, and that's his personality from the Game Chasers. Sounds cool. I'd love to be in it. Don't handshake deal almost. Yeah, go ahead. And I know, but I already know, like, I can't do a handshake deal. I don't know these guys. Right. Like, let's say I sell 1 million copies. Oh, hey, I never said that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I think they would do that. They've all seemed, getting to know each of them a little bit. They all seem pretty up. I don't think I would have had that problem, but you never know. You never know anybody that you meet, really meet on the internet and I'm a fan. I'm a complete. So, the term mark is thrown around in wrestling all the time. Dude, I was a mark for all these guys. Like, I was fans of their channels,
Me too, man. Me too. I was a massive. When John Riggs replied to my message, I was like, oh my God, John Riggs.
Right,
I get it.
So it's like, I'm just like this guy who's like an accountant for more, better for worse. Now going to make a video game. I have no track record, which is why I was hesitant to reach out to wrestlers. And we have time. We're gonna go right into the wrestling, the first.
So let me just stop you there. So the reason you didn't immediately look for licensing wrestlers was simply because you didn't think anyone would take you seriously.
Right. Yeah. I was a wuss. Okay. I try to not say the word I'm thinking of right now, but want to keep it a little bit PG-13.
I understand what you're saying, and it is kind of a tricky thing. How do you start in that world? Like me personally, outside of podcasting, because I do this and obviously AJ's one, I work in the music industry. That's what I do. But before I did that, I had no clue how to work in the industry or how to work with composers or pressing plants or any of that stuff. So coming at something when you have no clue, just a passion for it. I mean, where do you can't just, even the Google, how do I do this? It's not always the easiest. So I understand your reticence to reach out to IP holders.
Right.
Because that's what wrestlers are, or companies. So I get it, but I think the YouTube thing's kind of cool. Actually, I'm kind of sad that I don't get to play as John Riggs.
Hey, you never know. Maybe we do it in the future. It's funny because I definitely mentioned this. I did devlogs as we were building the game. I didn't go into this much detail, but I did mention it, and I did get a lot of comments. Oh, you should still do that. You should still do that.
I would be quite happy to be in RetroMania 2. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. RetroMania 2 or 3, whatever. I'll be, Anyway, yes, sorry.
But so I thought the YouTube thing seemed easy to me, and it's
right.
I did like the idea, and from a marketing standpoint, I thought, all right, I'm going to have, and this is I did say everybody, and I forget who said it. Some wrestler, another thing I watch a bunch of shoot. I'm sure you have too in the past. A bunch of shoot wrestling interviews.
Yes.
Some wrestler, and it's probably multiple wrestlers said this, but every wrestler's a mark for themselves. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Right? So I thought, well, the same thing applies to these YouTube creators. They're all like, they want to see themselves in a game. They're covering games. They love video games. None of them at the time had ever been in a video game. This is before John started, I think, making his own games, John Riggs.
Right.
They all were like, yeah, I want to be in a video game, and they were obviously passionate about it.
Right.
And I thought, all right, well, here's my marketing, right? That's in my mind, like, this is whatever I pay them is going to be a marketing cost. Right. So it's like they're obviously promoted on their YouTube channel. So now if I can get 12 YouTubers with an average viewership of 100,000, now I have 1 million audience members that I have direct access to, more or less. Now, I come to find out, like, followers don't necessarily equal sales, and we'll get into that in a later episode too, navigating all that. But at the time, I didn't know any better, so I was like, well, at least, it'll be easy to get the word out, and I'll have this built-in audience. So I get the artwork. I talk to a couple of them. They're all on board. And then I'm like, but it would be pretty cool to get a wrestler. Right?
Of course. Knowing the source material.
Yeah.
And your love for WrestleFest.
So I think at the time, I don't know if I have this right. So I think what got me to do it is, do you remember there was this concussion lawsuit against the WWE?
Yes.
I want to say like somewhere in like 2020, the mid 2010, somewhere in the 2010s, there was this concussion lawsuit.
Is that the one with Chris Nowinski? He was a part of that because I think
so.
Concussion. Yes, I do remember it. I don't
know if that's a separate. I don't want to quote me on that because I don't know. That might have been a separate issue, but I know like the Road Warriors were involved in it, at least.
That's right. Yes, I do remember that.
Was involved in it. So and then they're going back and looking. There was these Legends of Wrestling games made by Acclaim. So, which is another story. But I'm like, well, and those had like stack rosters, right? So WWE 2K, I think they came out around 2010, 11, maybe 09, somewhere. Maybe it was a little earlier, but it was like, oh, you have one up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when it changed over. I think the earliest 2K I've got is like 16, but it was before that. It was
before It was before 2K, but it was, and I think it was Acclaim who did the Legends of Wrestling games.
Yes, it was. Because I have Legends of Wrestling 2 right here.
There you go.
There you go. Acclaim.
And is Acclaim on there? The Acclaim logo on there?
Yeah, Acclaim.
Yeah, okay, there it is. Yeah,
both of them actually. Yeah, I mean, when you say stacked rosters, I mean, that's the first one. So you've got the Hulkster, Brett, RVD, Terry Funk, Jimmy Snuka, the Hart Foundation, the King, and then on this one, Andre, Bruno, like, talk about stacked rosters. And, you know, the graphics on the back, his shirt actually says Hulkster. So somebody else had to be like,
right. And that's what I started thinking. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, Acclaim did Legends of Wrestling, because I thought after the cease and desist, not that I mentioned the company, but I thought they were all already owned. Right. I thought, I don't know. But then I'm like, well, there were these Legends of Wrestling games not too long ago. So it was on the Xbox. So hell, they may be older than I think. It's like 2003 now that I think about it. Right? Because the original one came on the original Xbox.
2002.
2002.
One. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. All right, so I was off in 2010. But somehow I got to like, there's this concussion lawsuit. So they didn't own it. They were suing them. And the Legends of Wrestling games did it back in 2000, early 2000s. So, all right, well, they're available. So now I'm like, what you said earlier, right? What do? Hey, Google.
Exactly.
How do I license a wrestler for a video game?
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I did. I Googled it. Now, I don't think this is as prevalent today. It might be, but I now I have connections, so I know the right channels to go through. But
yes, yeah.
There were a lot of bookers online that said they had access to all these guys.
Right. Okay.
So it's like, hey, do you want so and so for your convention? Do you want to book, you know, for you know, these talents for things, you know? So I tried a couple of these booking sites who claimed they had access to everybody. And I decided I was going to target the Road Warriors. Like, in my mind, I thought, well, I probably can't get the Legion of Doom, but the Road Warriors is what they were in the AWA, the NWA, so on and so forth. So I'm like, let me see if I can get a hold of Animal. Because at this point, Hawk has already passed. Animal was doing dealings with both of them. So I'm like, let me try to get a hold of Animal. I took 2 months reaching out to multiple bookers. Some would say, yeah, I can get them, and then never follow up or whatever. Eventually, I get them. So, and it's all going through this booker who ends up being kind of shady. Hey, can you give me an advance on this? And I'm going to help you get somebody else. But because the way I worked it was, you know, if I sign them, you can get get a finder's fee. Is the way I worked it out, right? And what I come to find out really is like, yeah, they put a website up once they get their cell phone information, and they try to work with somebody like me, and then just and I don't think it worked for video games this way. This is how I approached it for video games. But I think I want to get Road Warrior Animal at an autograph signing at like a comic book store. I go to this booker, he books it. I have to pay him a booking fee. I have to pay Animal a booking fee, and this guy marks it up by whatever he gets, or he takes a cut of the autographs or whatever. It's $25 for an autograph. The booker takes a piece of that. I get a piece of that. I pay Animal a set fee. They all work a little bit differently, you know. So I negotiate with this guy, and then I'm going through a middleman to talk to Animal, and then eventually I get my lawyer involved to write up a licensing and IP contract with Animal that we both agreed on and negotiated. And all of a sudden, I have Animals and Hawks rights signed on.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So I went from this YouTube idea to now I have the fucking Road Warriors. Like, it's like, and it was obviously a big moment for me, but it was like, all right, I guess I'm really doing this. Because even at this point, I wasn't like, you know, I was going to do it, but there was still that part of me was like, I hadn't spent any real money on it yet. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have an artist working part-time. I spent a little money with Corey to do some of the YouTubers. But at this point, I coded, it was time. Obviously, time is money, like I said before. So I've spent a decent amount of time doing the prototype, multiple months doing a prototype of what I wanted.
Yes. Yeah.
So I had done all that, but at this point, it was like, all right, you know, Animal wanted a decent amount up front. So
yeah.
And so now it's like, I know I'm gonna have to multiply this times 12. You know, and I've at this point I hadn't done a budget. I had no idea how much this is gonna cost, really. I was just like, oh, I'm making a wrestling game. All right, let's go. You know? And you think I should know better, because every project I'd ever worked on in my accounting and business life, I have a budget. It's one of the first things we do. Like,
yeah, don't you work in accounting?
I don't know what the hell I was thinking, Tony. I mean, I was just like, if this is fun, and
you were blinded by the passion.
And I wasn't treating it like a business at any level. And this is kind of the first thing, like, I have to treat it like a business. Like, it was a glorified hobby up until this point. But now it's like, now I have a wrestler who I'm paying money to and who's going to promote this game. I don't want to embarrass them. I don't want to, because at the point was like, I don't want to make a stinker, obviously, but even talking with the YouTubers, like now it's like, if I'm licensing other people in some regard, it's not just my reputation. It's like now everybody associated with me who's going to put their name on the line to be a part of this project is taking a chance on somebody who has no idea what they're doing. And I was upfront about that. I'm like, I've never made a game before, but with that said, I've been in a business for 20 years at this point. So I do have a track record, a successful track record of accounting and finance projects that I've gone down. So I did have that, but yeah, I'm just like, yeah, maybe I should have a budget. Maybe.
I love you thought of this after you'd signed the Road Warriors. Like,
right, you know, now it's like, how am I going to pay for this? And so now the next pitch is to the wife, because I've been doing this, but she knew I was working on it, but she didn't know how serious it was.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, all right, I got my board of directors at home, which is one member, which is my wife, needs to get on board with this. And and now I got to get a plan together and figure out. All right, I got Animal, but I realized over the next months where this guy introduced me. So here's a great story. This is a great story. How naive I was at the time. Oh my god! This one just popped in my head. I did not, in doing research for this, I did not. So this guy gets me Animal. So I'm a little concerned, but at this point, he hadn't asked for anything really. I had good conversations, just wrestling conversations, and it was really what it ended up being was one Mark talking to another Mark. You know, we were two fans talking about wrestling, and he happened to get me in touch with Animal,
right?
And we got a deal done, right? So now I have the Road Warriors for my wrestling game. I have no code. I think I just hired my lead developer. And I have an artist, and this is forming no budget. So now I'm starting to get serious. So now this guy is like, hey, I have a meeting with Hulk in 3 weeks.
Okay.
My mind's blown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he had just, I think, so he did that Connects Hulk Hogan main event game.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
You got that one behind you, Tony?
No. Weirdly enough, that one's not there. Yes. Anyway,
so he had done that game, so I just thought, well, he must be available now because he did a non WWE game.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was in the latest. I think he was in some of the 2K games, but anyway, I thought at this point in 2018, I thought he owned his own likeness and he could do with it what he wanted because his name was at this point, his name's on a million things,
Yeah.
So, some WWE related, some not. So this guy's like, yeah, I got a meeting with Hulk in 3 weeks. All right. So can you lay out a pitch that I can give to him for this, So I'm like, all right. Now I'm thinking, what do I got? So I get some artwork done. And I have Hulk Hogan dropping a leg on the Iron Sheik a la when he won the title. And I make all right, so here, we'll talk about this more next week because when I go through the names, because at this point, it's not RetroMania Wrestling.
Right, okay.
I think RetroFest is what we were going with at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. So I make this RetroFest cover, and I promise next week I'll show it to you. I have it. I'm pretty sure I know where it is, but this story it's amazing how much I've forgotten in so short amount of time. So I create this case, and again, 2018, the Switch came out in 2017, right? So 2016, 2017. So I create a Switch case. I take one of my games, I take out the insert, and I create RetroFest Wrestling with Hulk Hogan on the cover. I mail it to this guy to take to his meeting because he's got a meeting, Tony, in 3 weeks with Hulkster. So
he said he had a meeting.
Yeah. So I scramble to get this thing done. I ship it to him, overnight shipping. I think the guy he was somewhere down south, but this was his meeting was Hulk lives in Tampa, so he was driving to Tampa,
right?
This meeting with Hulk. All right. So I find out. So I'm like, how'd the meeting go? So 3 weeks come, I got everything, understand it. Yeah, you already signed the Road Warriors, so you have it. And so he goes. I'm like, how'd the meeting go, brother? Come to find out, well, it wasn't in talking to the guy. It wasn't a meeting per se. He's like, there were a lot of people there, and I didn't get as much one-on-one time as I thought I was going to get with them. And I'm like, well, where was it? He's like, well, it was at the beach store. What's it called? Hulk Hogan's
beach shop.
Beach shop. It was at the beach shop. I'm like, oh, does he have does he work out of it? Like, does he have an office back there that he does like endorsement stuff and stuff? Well, no. He had an autograph signing there that day. And the line was pretty long, Mike. The line was pretty long. And once I got up there, his handler or manager didn't really want him talking about business opportunities because it was an autograph signing.
Oh, no. The guy told you he had a meeting when in fact he was going to an autograph signing.
Yeah.
Wrestling perfection.
So at that point, after hearing this, I'm just like, what the hell? I mean, seriously. And I immediately blame myself for thinking that this guy, after talking to him, I should have put it this way. You know how a lot of times in hindsight, everything's 2020, right?
Oh, yes.
So I replay the last 4 months of my life talking to this guy and getting the Road Warriors. And I'm just like, there were so many red flags throughout this process. And I was just like, I'm making a wrestling game. And I'm still in this mindset of I'm making a wrestling game. Like, 16-year-old me playing WrestleFest in the arcade. I'm making the next big thing, the next big WrestleFest. And I just like, this was like a great lesson. And take a step back, do a little more homework, and don't rush into things. And I think part of the problem was I actually was able to sign the Road Warriors.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that was part of the problem. That I gave this guy a little more validation than he deserved.
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I would.
But, it was like carny bullshit it ended up being. You know what I mean? And in talking to a lot of these guys, they've dealt with a lot of this kind of shit throughout their careers, especially the legends who have I won't get into the details, but the Perry Saturns just went through something like this with some other wrestling game or something, which gives the rest of us who do it right a bad name, Yeah. Where now these guys, are very guarded if you'd want to do a licensing thing with them. So yeah, after the meeting with Hulk didn't go as planned, I'm now back to, all right, now what? What am I going to do? But with that said, now I have the Road Warriors in hand. I got a developer. We're making a game. I got to pitch it to my wife, who honestly, that wasn't that hard. She trusts me. I'd been successful. There's probably not much of a story there. It's not like I really created a presentation. It was one night we went to dinner and I said, I'm really doing this, so and she's like, all right, how much is this going to cost us? I go, if I do it right, it's not going to cost us anything. We'll make a little bit of money, Right. So, but she's like, whatever, was basically her response at the end of the day.
Okay.
I'm super, it's like I'm super involved coaching my kids. I was at the time, especially recently retired from that, but as they aged out. But I coach basketball from, all basically year round, because all athletics for kids now are year round. If you're in it, you're specializing in something.
Okay, right, okay.
So basketball is pretty much year round. Summer league, fall league, winter league. You have a little break in the spring sometimes. But even then, AAU starts once they're old enough. But I'm coaching full time. She's like, that was her only concern is you coach all the kids and everything. When are you going to have time to do that? You have run another business. When are you going to have time to do this?
Yeah.
But, you make time for things you love. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
So now we're off to the races. I got the Road Warriors signed. I've navigated a little bit of what I'm up against, and now I'm putting together. The next step is putting together a business plan and really approaching this more so like a business than just I'm making a wrestling game,
right,
kind of thing. Because now I have the Road Warriors, so obviously I don't want Animal to beat my ass. What's this crap you put out?
Right.
Need I remind him of WrestleMania for the NES, where it had their name on it, but among other crappy licensed games in general, not just in the wrestling genre, but there's been a history of licensed games always stunk. back on the NES days. Most
the movie
games.
tie-in games.
Yep,
movie tie-in games were the worst. There's like a handful that are okay.
Right.
Very few that are actually quite good. So
completely agree. So now it's like, well, now I want to make a good wrestling game. WrestleFest again is my favorite game of all time. I don't want to do a spiritual successor and have it suck. So, and I have other people's name now attached to this in the Road Warriors. So now it's like, all right, let's get serious. And this is kind of the jumping off point of, let's take a step back. Let's put a plan together and not just go this day by day. And that would be kind of my lesson learned for this episode is put together a business plan. And I think this is a lot of people struggle with this kind of stuff. I fortunate enough, my background was in business. So I again, like even saying it to you, Tony, is like, man, how stupid was I? I did this for 20 years at this point, and not up to that point, not a part of me was like, hey, put together a project plan, put together a budget.
Well, it was a hobby passion project.
Right.
It wasn't a serious thing until it became a serious thing.
Right.
And then you took all the right steps. So
so it's definitely something, I would say, again, the lesson here is you have to, and this isn't the fun part of being like an indie game dev. It's like you have to get familiar with the business. I will plug, and I'm not zero. I know I've had one call with the guy who runs this, Jay Powell, but indie game dev, indie business dev, I forget. It's either indie game business or indie dev business is a non-for-profit. They don't make any money on it, but they just help independent developers. And I wish I knew this then. I didn't even know about this till well later, and they've grown a lot since then because it really grew during COVID. Because they put on like virtual conventions and there's a lot of good resources for the business side of indie development. And if you're an indie developer, you have to learn the business side. You have to either talk to people, and I will tell you again, and I keep repeating this, but reach out to people, find a Discord server. People are more than willing to help you who have gone through it before in that indie dev space. I have made so many good contacts and people they have no agenda. They're just genuinely willing to help you get through some of this stuff. And so if anybody happens to see this, help Mike at RetroSoftStudios.com. I'll gladly talk to you. And if you have questions, anything I can do to help. Again, I'm a stupid game dev and I don't know a ton, but I have gone through more. If you're starting at zero, I've at least put in 7 years at this and released a game and a DLC. So I do have a little bit of a track record now. So I definitely think I can shed some insight onto that side of it. But yeah, I mean, now it's like I'm at a point now. It's like I got the wrestlers. Let's put a game plan together and take this seriously and do it right. And I think that's a good jumping off point to next show next week.
So we got the Road Warriors. There's a whole lot more.
Oh yeah,
whole lot more on the roster. Everything. The design of the rings and the crowd and the outfit, like everything is kind of it's mind blowing that the Road Warriors were actually the first ones you got as well. That's wow. Well, I, for one, am very intrigued. Like I say, this is my favorite hour of the week because I get to talk about this stuff. So that's awesome. If you haven't already checked out the previous episodes of this series, please do so on the RetroSoft YouTube channel. Reach out on X, Instagram. Is there a Facebook page? I don't know.
Yeah, there's Facebook, Instagram, X, and obviously YouTube. And we're going to put out, I'm being a little lazy here. I got to put out these. They will be on like Spotify and iTunes or podcasts on the iPhone or Apple network. I have to spend time, figure out how to do it. Not that it's hard. It's just I've never done it before. I'll get to it this week, hopefully. Get those published out there. So I do listen to a lot of podcasts in my car. So I think if there's a lot of other people out there like that who maybe do have long commutes or travel a lot, this will be a good listen to.
Yeah. I mean, if you can make a video game, you can publish a podcast, right? How hard can it be?
Right.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. I cannot wait for episode 6 already. It feels like we're racing through this, man. It really does. But a lot of story to tell. So thank you for watching, and I will be back with you next week.
All right. Take care.